Hey, who heard Mike Sando yesterday on this very podcast say you could make a case that the Lions have peaked?
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's good, everybody? It's a Wednesday edition of Locked On Lions, everyone, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Matt Derry with you, been hosting this very podcast since 2016. We are with you each and every day. Thanks for making us your first listen, and thank you for checking us out wherever you get your podcasts, and of course, on our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. It's a Wednesday, March 26th into Thursday, March 27th. If you missed yesterday's show with Mike Sando from theathletic.com, we're going to talk about something that Sando said at the end of the show yesterday. But if you missed that, go back and watch it or listen to it. Locked On Lions for today is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Best place to get tickets certainly is Gametime. All right, coming up on the show today, yes, Mike Sando from The Athletic yesterday discussing if the Lions have peaked. It's the dreaded P word. Have they peaked? Also, Ben Solak at ESPN.com says maybe the Lions are concerned about their backup quarterback? Interesting there. We'll get into that. The Pro Football Focus Simulator, where fans go on there and make mock draft selections for the Lions in the first round. Who's the player that has been mocked the most to the Lions? We will tell you. And we have a call of the day as well. If you want to be our call of the day, go to www.speakpipe.com/Derry podcast page. Record your call of the day submission. And if I like it, and if it's less than a minute, there's no profanity, and it's all good, then we will play your call of the day on this show. We'll have one a little bit later on in the program. All right. I always like talking to Mike Sando. Great NFL writer, has been writing about the league for like 30 years. And he's just one of the old school guys. He's made the rounds. He was, I believe, at the NFL.com. He's covered teams. He's now at theathletic.com. I love The Athletic. I am a subscriber. I read all of their stuff. I think one of the best writers I've ever read is my good friend Zach Meisel, who writes for The Athletic and covers the Cleveland Guardians. And you guys all know I'm a Guardian slappy, but I think he's great. Colton Pouncey, Nick Baumgartner, cover the Lions, are at The Athletic. They're fantastic. There's a lot of good writers and good long form stuff on there. And Mike Sando is highly respected. We had him on the show yesterday, and I thought he was great. At the very end, though, I asked him about what he thinks of the NFC North this year and if he's still picking the Lions. And Sando said you could make a case, this is his words, you could make a case that the Lions probably peaked, that it's going to be with enough uncertainty, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, that maybe, just maybe, over the last couple of years, it will be hard to replicate what this football team has done. And I heard that at the end of the show yesterday, and I normally just end the show. Like I hit our little outro graphic. What do we call that on here? The end tag. You guys see it at the end of the show. I play the graphic. I use the graphic here. This is just for you. Those of you that watch the show, here's what the graphic looks like. All right. So you've seen me. I play that at the end of the show. Sando said that, and I just hit pause instead of end recording. And Mike and I said goodbye because I had to come back at the end of the show and go, wait a minute. What did he just say? We've run out of time, but tomorrow I'm going to touch on this topic. Most Lions fans are fired up about the team. They love the team. This is the most invested. Many of you have been in the team. All right. I look at my downloads. I look at my YouTube views. I mean, through the roof. We're doing great. All right. During the season, we were one of the top 200 podcasts. I think we cracked the top 100 a couple times on Apple. All right. And look, it's not because of me. It's because of you guys. All right. You guys want the content. I think we deliver it pretty well here on the network. And I try to be fair. I try to be opinionated. I try to bring good guests on and be entertaining. So I know how Lions fans are right now. You guys have your fists up. You guys got, as the Canadians would say, elbows up right now. You're ready to fight anybody that is going to take a swipe at your Honolulu blue and silver gladiators. That's just how it is. You're into the team. I don't blame you for feeling that way. This is a team that started off under Dan Campbell. They were bad. It was the first year. They won 3 games. They won 9 games. They won 12 games. And last year they went 15-2. 15-2. Set a franchise record. So, with that all being put out on the table here, Mike Sando saying they probably peaked is not out of the realm of possibility. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, Sando doesn't know what he's talking about. Our young play. And yes, the Lions have so many players in their core that are in their prime or even not even at their prime yet. This is a young football team with a lot of talent. Jahmyr Gibbs is second year. Aiden Hutchinson, third year. Penei Sewell, third or fourth year. Amon-Ra St. Brown, third or fourth year. Jared Goff's not even 30 yet. Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, Aleem McNeil. These are young cats. Terrion Arnold, young player. By the way, did anybody see there's people calling the Lions asking for the 5-yard holding penalty not pass interference, defensive holding or legal contact? They're calling it the Terrion Arnold rule. I think that's funny. But these guys are young. This is not a roster full of Von Millers or Aaron Rodgers or Devontae Adams or Stafford, right? Young talent. So Mike Sando saying they're peaking. 2 things can be right. He can be right in thinking there's no way this team's going 15-2 again. And last season was the year. They had home field throughout the playoffs. They had a gem and a defensive coordinator that is a top 5 coordinator in Aaron Glenn. And they had a gem and an offensive coordinator that was a top 1-2 coordinator in the whole league in Ben Johnson. And they're gone. And you're replacing them with John Morton, who failed as an OC in 2017 for the Jets, and Calvin Shepard, who has never been a coordinator before. Could that mean a step back? Could that mean that last year was the peak? Maybe. But again, I remember 2 years ago when the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl for the second, and they have peaked. Kelsey's getting old. They dodged a bunch of injuries. Andy Reid's getting up there in age. They can't possibly be the same team. And guess what? During the regular season last year, the Kansas City Chiefs limped through the regular season. They did not. Yes, they won a lot of games. And yes, they got to be the 1 seed again. But that was not the same Chiefs team. And yet they got back to the Super Bowl, and this time they lost. I don't think the Lions are going to win 15 games next year. That doesn't make me a hater. That doesn't mean I think they've peaked and it's over. I don't. I'm likely going to predict them to win the division and pick them to win the division again. Why? Chemistry, culture. I want to see who they draft. I want to see what other moves they make, but they've got most everybody back. Carlton Davis was replaced by DJ Reed. What if Aleem McNeil and Aiden Hutchinson get healthy and are back to form? They could be better. That doesn't mean they'll win as many games. Maybe what if they were to lose and not win the division but go into the wild card? The Lions last year, the target was on their back. They were heavy favorites against the Commanders and got embarrassed. Peaked? I don't know if they've peaked. I don't know if that's the proper terminology to use, but I see Mike's point from yesterday about could that have been the best they could be with Ben Johnson, with Aaron Glenn, with that staff, with that roster in terms of maybe regular season. I still think this team can win the division, and I still think this team can go to the Super Bowl. But they might not, based on this year's schedule, how difficult it looks, especially on the road, win 15 games. But they went 3, 9, 12, 15. Maybe that's what Sando meant. They hit that peak. They could still go down, win 12, win 11, still go to the playoffs, and still make a run. Of course they can. How many times have we seen wild card teams go to the Super Bowl? Lots. So, interesting statement from Mike, and he's very high on Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Go back and watch yesterday's show, and I would love your thoughts wherever You can find me on social media. And of course, your YouTube comments are always welcome as well. All right. Coming up next, a bizarre line in a rather positive column about the Lions offseason, but then Ben Solak kind of went somewhere I wasn't expecting him to go, discussing the Lions' backup quarterback situation. We will get into that coming up next. And Locked On Lions today brought to you by Gametime. Are you looking for tickets to anything? Imagine watching your favorite team live, right? Feeling the energy of the crowd, witnessing unforgettable moments. Nothing like experiencing a big game in person. Getting tickets should not be stressful. That's where Gametime comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute seats at unbeatable prices. Let me tell you about my good friend Michael Spath. All right, Spath, Ann Arbor legend, right? Now at Marsh McLennan, he took his wife Amy and some friends to the Pistons game last night against the Spurs, and I got the tickets on Gametime. Sat mezzanine center court, didn't pay a lot for him, had a great experience. I was on the Gametime app last night, taking the wife and some friends to Pistons Cavs on Friday. All right, some Locked On P1 listeners are coming with us, and got the tickets on Gametime. It's so much easier. All right, you check the app. There's amazing deals on big matchups coming up, including Pistons Cavs on Friday. And with seat views before you buy, there's no surprise fees and lowest price guarantee. You can book with total confidence. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Seriously, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. LOCKEDON NFL. Use that code for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, it's Wednesday edition, Locked On Lions, Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks everybody for being with us. Appreciate your listenership and viewership. Got a call today coming up momentarily. All right, today, big article written by Benjamin Solak at ESPN.com. NFL 2025 free agency class rankings, most improved rosters. How did it go in free agency for all of the teams? Solak believes the Buffalo Bills did the best in free agency in terms of also retaining players. So key acquisitions and returning players. He has the Bills at number 1. He has the Rams at number 2. Saying he just loves everything. There's an I loved and I didn't love it for every team. Minnesota comes in 3rd. Loves the pickups of Will Fries and Ryan Kelly. Keeping Byron Murphy Jr. and Aaron Jones. At number 4, the Lions. Derek Barnes, DJ Reed, Levi Onwuzurike, Marcus Davenport, Roy Lopez. Key acquisitions and returning players. Solak says he loves the retentions. Solid swap and getting DJ Reed in, even Tim Patrick and Dan Skipper being back. He likes that. Then you get to the part that he writes, I didn't love. And this is where I thought this was a little bit strange, to say the least. Solak writes, quote, I didn't love the implications behind the Kyle Allen signing. There's nothing wrong with the signing. Everybody loves the veteran quarterback at QB2, but the Lions are making it clear they do not trust Hendon Hooker. They replaced him at QB2 with Teddy Bridgewater last season, once Bridgewater was done coaching his way to a high school championship. And Hooker will now battle with Allen for the same job. At this point, I'd be surprised if the 2023 third-round pick becomes a reliable backup anywhere. The Lions probably need a new developmental quarterback of the future. Holy smokes, Ben Solak just power bombing, DDTing, stone cold stunning Hendon Hooker? Hendon Hooker was a rookie last year. Now, I get it. He's 25, 26, coming off a torn ACL, just sat and did nothing 2 years ago. Sat on the side in street clothes. Last year, all right, they suited him up as the backup for most of the year. They got deep into the season, and guess who wanted to come back? Teddy Two Gloves. I don't blame the Lions for going, if we make a deep playoff run and something happens to number 16, I'd like to be in the playoffs with a guy that's done it before. as opposed to Hendon Hooker, who, oh, by the way, only took snaps and blowouts this year. He was not in for really any meaningful stats meaningful snaps in any games. Jared Goff has played in pretty much every game over the last 2+ seasons. But Solak at ESPN.com just absolutely shredding Hendon Hooker. The Lions probably need a new developmental quarterback of the future? Does Solak know something that we don't know? Was Hendon Hooker so bad last year in practice during the season that that's why the Lions turned to Teddy Bridgewater? I have not heard that. I don't believe that. I'm not telling you that Hendon Hooker is the future. He's not. And maybe Solak looks up and says, wait a minute, all these teams around the league need a quarterback, including the Jets where Aaron Glenn resides. Why didn't the Jets call the Lions and offer some picks for Hendon Hooker? Is he this bad? We're going to find out again in the preseason, and who knows? If the Lions do proclaim in August or September that Kyle Allen has won the backup job, okay, we can be worried about Hendon Hooker. I thought the Kyle Allen signing was some insurance and having another veteran there in camp. Kyle Allen stinks. Okay? Sure, he's a great guy, the pride of Desert Mountain High School in Scottsdale, Arizona. But Brother Man is about to be on his 6th team in 8 years. Started with the Panthers, then went to the Washington football team, Texans for a year, Bills for a year, Steelers last year. And on a team in Pittsburgh that it was desperate for a quarterback, Kyle Allen played in 1 game. He threw 1 pass. 2 years ago against for Buffalo, he got in 7 games and didn't throw a ball. It was basically garbage time. He was the backup in 1 game last year for the Steelers when Russell Wilson was out and Justin Fields had to play. Other than that, Kyle Allen is no good. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm being too harsh. He's not good. I think he's insurance. I think it's a solid veteran, number 3. I don't agree with Ben Solak that all of a sudden, because the Lions signed Kyle Allen as just another body, that he's going to push Hendon Hooker and that there's panic in Hooker Town, as our man Wojo used to say. I'm not seeing that. So I thought that was kind of a bizarre. If you want to say I don't like the Kyle Allen signing because I don't think he's any good and they could have done better for a guy can compete for the backup job, fine. But making an indictment on Hendon Hooker, I think, is a little wrong. Now, again, we could watch preseason football this year and watch Hendon and go, man, he just can't throw the rock. He just can't do it. And there were he showed some glimpses in the preseason last year that he could lead a team. But again, it's preseason, and he didn't get in much last year in the regular season. And I think the Bridgewater move was, here's a veteran that wants to come back, play in a few games, and be that protection in case Goff gets hurt. Of course you go with Teddy Bridgewater over Hendon Hooker when in a playoff game. And Teddy played some meaningful snaps in that Commanders game when Goff got his bell rung. I was more comfortable in that spot in the divisional round against Washington with Teddy than Hendon, because Hendon hadn't played. And I know Teddy hadn't played, but Teddy's also 10 years older or 8 years older. Real fast, Pro Football Focus, our very good friends there, do a mock draft simulator. You can go to pff.com and you can fill out your mock drafts and you can project players to the Lions at number 28. And Jeff Risdon wrote about this at Lions Wire today, and it was a really good piece. The Lions' most popular selection in the mock draft simulator at PFF is a very popular pick right now and a runaway for many of you. The publication released the data from all the simulations, revealing that the most popular projection for the Detroit Lions is Tennessee edge James Pierce Jr. We told you the other day about Pierce and my belief that while he fits the Lions and the kid out of Tennessee can really rush the passer and he's got great ability, and Mel Kiper picked him for the Lions in his latest mock draft, I still believe that due to his off-field concerns and some talk about his being a good teammate, not being the best culture fit at times, that I don't think the Lions are going to take James Pierce. He was also, by the way, Pierce, the most mocked player for the Ravens, Packers, Bengals, Seahawks, and Commanders. And of course, the Lions pick after all of those teams. Since he's at 17, Seattle at 18, Green Bay at 23, and Baltimore at 27. So while the Lions need a pass rusher, James Pierce might not be there at number 28. And there's a chance that if he is there at 28, you never know. Brad Holmes might not take him because there's a lot of chit chat and whispering about his character. So we'll see. I usually feel like Holmes shies away from these guys that have any kind of warts. There's something to the Lions culture, the locker room, and the fact that Dan Campbell years ago said we don't have any turds in there. No turds in this locker room. Those were his words, not mine. All right, call of the day coming up next. Let's get to the business of that. We will do that coming up next here on Locked On Lions. Quick note before I get to call of the day. If anybody saw the interview today, and I didn't watch all of it, of LeBron James on the Pat McAfee show, had him in studio because I think the Lakers are in Indy, and that's where McAfee is based. Shame on LeBron James for taking little pot shots at Brian Windhorst, the fine writer from ESPN. I've known Brian since Cleveland days, and it was Bush League and terrible. So that has nothing to do with Locked On Lions, but I had to bring it up. All right, call of the day right now, and you can be our call of the day by going to speakpipe.com/Dery, DERY, podcast page. Love for you to be our call of the day in the next couple of days. We'd love to hear from our listeners and our viewers. Today, Brandon W. from right here in the D checks in. Let's take a listen to today's call of the day, and then we'll have some comments about it.
How's it going, Matt? Brandon from Detroit. With Kirby Joseph and Aiden Hutchinson rumored to be getting extended, what Lions do you think will potentially lose in the next few years, and who would you want to keep on a team?
All right, Brandon, great question. So again, Kirby Joseph, there's been talks about an extension, and why not? He's one of the best safeties in the league, and he's a tremendous center fielder for this Lions team. He's no Ben Gamble, but he's excellent. Huh. You want to extend Hutchinson? Here are a couple names of players that I think, because you can't keep everybody. You just can't. You cannot keep everybody. A couple of names that I could see not being with the team maybe next year, the 2026 offseason. Alex Anzalone's on the last year of his deal. All right. And unless he takes something very, very team friendly, the Lions are loaded with a lot of linebackers. And that doesn't even, we got to even see what the Lions are going to do at the draft. But bringing back Derek Barnes, having Jack Campbell, having Malcolm Rodriguez, the Lions have a lot of options at linebacker right now. So there's a chance. And look, Anzalone's a captain. He's the Gaines media poster boy. He's the man. But maybe that's a veteran that they let walk after this season. Again, he's on the last year of his deal. Jamison Williams is a question mark. We're going to get to the point in a couple of months here where the Lions can extend him or pick up his fifth-year option. I think they're going to do that. But again, he's entering year 4. What if after year 4, well, first of all, they got to pick up his option. If they pick up his fifth-year option around $20 million, he'll be here for the next 2 years. But could it be down the road that the Lions feel like we've got to pay other people? We got to extend Kirby Joseph. We got to extend Aiden Hutchinson. We got to extend Amik Robertson, who's up after this year too. If they love Amik Robertson and want to keep him, that's another player you're going to have to extend. And look at the cornerback market and how it's blown up this offseason. Who just got $30 million a year? Oh gosh, why am I drawing a blank? I mean, J.C. Horn just got $25 million a year. So there's going to be a market for Amik, but if the Lions want to keep him around, they're going to have to pay him after this season. J-Mo is interesting. Anzalone's another veteran. Could Graham Glasgow after this season be a cap casualty and a cut? Taylor Decker re-signed. All right. But Giovanni Manu, they took him in the 4th round for a reason. I don't know if they felt like he was a 1 to 2 year developmental player and then in year 3 would be a guy, but you just never know. What if Decker regresses this year? Would this be his last year? Would he be a cut candidate? That's another captain that has spent his entire career with the Lions. DJ Reader is up after this year, and that would be a guy I would guess, unless he has a monster year, they would not be bringing back. And Onzarike, too, is on a 1-year deal. So a lot of options in terms of down the road. Keeping Kirby Joseph, keeping Aiden Hutchinson, picking up J-Mo's 5th-year option. So that would be 2 more years of Williams at a lot of money. At least that 5th year is $20 million. You're not going to be, some other people are going to have to let go. So, and Brandon is right about that. All right. Thank you for checking us out, everybody, on this Wednesday edition of Locked on Lions. Again, if you missed the Mike Sando interview yesterday, it was really, really good. Shout out to my buddy, Plymouth Jim Mulhern, who is an everydayer, who gave you some love on the Sando interview as well. We appreciate all of our everydayers, all of our listeners and viewers right here on Locked on Lions. Don't forget, Jake Riepma, Locked on Sports Detroit, is on with a postcast after Red Wing games, after Pistons games. He had to do 2 shows last night. After the Pistons game, they won. After the Red Wings game, they lost to the Avs. Speaking of the Avs, happy March 26th, everybody. Infamous day in Red Wing history. I was in the building at the Joe, March 26, 1997. One of the more unbelievable sporting events I've ever witnessed. All right, everybody, we are back again tomorrow.